Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of a StoneWall's Perspective podcast. I am your host, Alexander Stone. In this episode, we have another very special guest with us. She was the former anchor for Fox 10 News in Phoenix and became a symbol of truth in journalism when she walked away from the mainstream media despite being the number one in ratings for over 2 decades. And now she's running for governor of Arizona, and she has been endorsed by President Trump himself, the person who should rightfully be in the Oval Office right now.
Yes.
Please welcome Kari Lake. How are you doing today?
I'm so happy to be here. I'm thinking how we met, which was in Iowa. It was like a God moment. Mm-hmm. And now here we are,
exactly.
A couple months later, sitting here doing a podcast.
Yeah, so we did meet in Iowa. I was volunteering for a Trump rally, and I was doing the traffic, and the traffic was crazy because people love President Trump, and the traffic has stopped, and their window is rolled down, and I look in, and I'm like, "Are you Kari Lake?" And
here we are in Iowa, and we pull in the wrong gate, trying to figure out which gate to go to, and that you recognized me by name. It was just crazy. The whole car went, "Wait a minute, how is this working out?" But how did you know me? You were following.
I follow politics. I follow politics. I follow who's running for what place, where it is, because I love our country. I love where our country should be, which is freedom.
Yeah.
And it seems as if we're falling farther and further away from freedom, and closer to tyranny and to just
communism.
Communism, exactly right. And so, like I said before our interview, I was on your website right now on my iPad. And I'm looking at it, and it says, "Don't California our Arizona."
Yeah.
And we don't want that for Arizona. We don't want that for anywhere, because California is going so far downhill, so anti-God, so anti-Republican values, so anti-God values.
Anti-American values.
Exactly right. Anti-freedom with what Gavin Newsom is doing and his policies.
And it's not just him. It was before him. This is what happens when you have decades of liberal leftist rule, and it's not even Democrat rule, because I think the old Democrat Party would even be appalled by what's happening. This is pure socialism, hinging on communism or Marxism, and when you have decades of policy like that, and you change voting rules where it's really hard for Republicans to even get on the ballot in some cases, this is what happens. This is what they want to do to the rest of the country, and we will not let it happen in Arizona, and that's one of the reasons I'm running for governor.
I'm glad you are running for governor, and I like how you said that the old Democrats, the older Democrats would not like what is going on. I always think about JFK.
Yeah. How
he would absolutely be appalled about where this is going right now.
JFK would be a Trump Republican.
Yes, he would. I
absolutely agree. And I believe our founding fathers would be Trump Republicans. Trump Republicanism is putting America first, putting the needs of the American citizens first. This is the government of the people. We own this government. We run this government, and we've been pushed out by tyrants. And President Trump came in and woke a lot of people up, thank God. And now people are awake to what America first truly means. Now, the left tried to turn that into, oh, it's racist, it's this, that, and the other. They threw every horrible slur at us for daring to love this country and the principles it was founded upon. And now people are waking up and realizing the left has been lying, pushing propaganda, and in control of the news media, which is truly trying to tear this country apart. That's why I stepped away.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about that, why you did step away, because it seems like there's so much fake news, like Donald Trump says all the time. It's fake news, it's fake news.
Boy, didn't he wake people up to it?
Yes, he did.
Even myself included. I thought I worked for the good guys, but when I realized, especially when President Trump came into office, how people were just losing their minds in the media in an abnormally extreme way. And then COVID really made me realize that there are no good guys in the corrupt media, in the fake news. In the corporate news world, there are no good guys. Even the guys that we think are good are not good. They're all pushing an agenda and propaganda. And we need to wake up to it, because if we don't wake up now, it's going to be too late.
You're exactly right, and there's so many lies that are being pushed, and people are buying those lies, believing those lies, because that's all they're hearing. They're only turning on the news. They're only listening to what they're hearing, and when that is happening, people fall for it. People are believing what is being said about everything.
It's not so much what they're saying, what they're reporting, it's what are they not reporting. And in COVID, they weren't reporting treatments that worked. that could have saved lives. They were only reporting the scary statistics, which were manipulated, by the way. So they wouldn't put out information that would help people. The media wouldn't put out information that would alleviate fear, that would allow us to open our economy back up, that would allow us to take the masks off our children because they don't work.
Right.
They wouldn't allow journalists to report that masks don't work. They wouldn't allow journalists to report on the election and the fraud in the election, and they're still not allowing that. I always tell people, one way to test if the news you're consuming is legitimate or fake news is how are they covering the election, the scam election that was stolen from the people. And if they're not covering that fairly, if they're calling it a fraud and all of that stuff and calling it the big lie, then you're watching fake news.
You're exactly
or if they're
right.
not covering it at all.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the election. I had the opportunity of meeting Mike Lindell back about a month and a half ago. And tomorrow, as of right now, November 22nd, on the 23rd, which is tomorrow, he's taking his election fraud case to the Supreme Court.
I'm so excited for him.
I am too. And
that man is a personal hero of mine. It bothers me. I'm from the Midwest, and I love his Midwestern spirit, his hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, I love his story of overcoming difficulty. We all have to overcome difficulty. And for him to be like a phoenix and arise from the ashes of addiction and all of that, and he cares so much about this country. He put everything on the line. He reminds me of our founding fathers. I mean, they lost fortune. They lost family. I mean, the Revolutionary War tore families apart based on ideology.
Right.
And we're in that kind of same place where we're losing family members because they are for a different ideology that is not pro-America. And so he lost everything. He lost business. He lost everything to get to the bottom of this election. And it bothers me that people try to make fun of him or call him names. It was 1 year ago when Kyle Rittenhouse was in jail. Everyone was trying to shun this poor boy. And nobody wanted to help him. That Mike Lindell gave the money to get him out of jail so he could be with his family. He always does the right thing even when it's hard. And those are the true patriots. Those are the people you want in the foxhole with you, right?
Yeah.
The people who will stand up and do what's right when it's hard. We need more of them.
That's the American Christian spirit that America needs
True.
revived in every American from now on.
And he puts his faith out there, even when people are offended by it.
Right.
But I was so honored that he endorsed me as the first person he endorsed. He was thinking he wouldn't endorse anybody. He endorsed me, and he's endorsed, I think, one other candidate. And I'm just so honored because he's truly a good man, a man of God, and he's a man who loves this country.
Exactly.
And so I'm sorry, I just had to go there.
I'm happy you did.
I had a conversation with him the other day. I called him and just quick 5 minutes, Mike, I don't want to take too much of your time. An hour later, we've hung up.
Wow.
You don't have a 5-minute conversation with Mike Lindell, just for starters.
That's fun. That's really cool. I love Mike. When I met him, he was a great guy. Everyone attacks him for everything that he's doing, but he's such a kind man, and it's amazing. True. I'm glad that you mentioned the Founding Fathers. Right now, at my American history class in my Christian school, where I'm learning real history, we're learning about the Founding Fathers and the foundation of our country, and it is we, the people. It's not the government. It's not who is in power. It is we, the people. This is the people's government, and the people have a say in what goes on. And right now, what is happening is tyrannical, and the people need to stand up. People are bowing down to whatever is being said by Joe Biden and his person.
Kamala Harris.
Yep. Kamala too, but basically everyone in his administration, they're just bowing down to it and listening and saying, "Oh, well, it'll pass." People have been saying that. Rhinos have been saying that for the past 20 years. It'll pass. It'll pass. It's not going to pass if we don't do anything.
We really, truly need to get back to taking our government back. And somebody who I really respect the other day, I heard him speaking, and I thought, that's such a brilliant way of putting it. He said, we're not electing leaders. We're electing representatives of the people. They don't lead us like sometimes you think a leader, they're leading us. No, I'm running to represent the people of Arizona. My special interest group is the people of Arizona. I think I'm the only one who can do this, and here's why. It's so time-consuming and expensive to run for office at a level like a governor's position. And so what you see is people who either have their own tons of money on their own, and they're going to fund themselves, pour their own money into it. And a lot of times they have their own interests. Or you see somebody who's a career politician, that means they have a whole bunch of different special interests behind them funneling money to them. I am truly being funded by we the people. And because I've covered the state for 27 years, 85% of the state knows my name, I've got great name ID, I'm able to run for office and with a really good shot of winning. And I think it's going to be the first time we have somebody in our governor's office who is truly a free agent, not owned by any donor special interest. I'm going to be the first, I believe, governor that would be the people's governor, representing the people of Arizona. And I'm doing this because I'm looking at the field. We've got a career politician, we have a bureaucrat who's worked in the bureaucracy forever, whole entire life. We've got a wealthy woman whose husband's trying to buy the election for her. And we have somebody who's already run before and lost to Katie Hobbs. We've actually got two people who've run before and lost at a statewide level. And we can't afford to put someone like that on the ballot, or we will lose it to these socialists. And so that's why I'm running, because I'm worried about the future. If Arizona gets in the hands of socialists like Katie Hobbs or whoever else the Democrats put on the ballot, we are going to become California. We are going to become a Marxist communist state. I mean, it's going that far. It's not hyperbole. We're going in that direction if we don't stop it in 22.
Exactly right. And, you know, I'm glad you mentioned 22 because 2022, it's important for 2024 as well. For our nation, for the whole nation. And, you know, I'm friends with Wendy Rogers, Arizona State Senator.
She's great.
And she's been fighting for election integrity, and we need that right here, right now in Arizona and every other state. I'm helping run a campaign for a guy named Dr. Mark Sherwood. He's running for Oklahoma governor.
Okay.
And he's fighting for an election integrity there as well. He wants every state audited, and I think that we need that. Because without election integrity, there's a very big chance that we lose our country here soon.
It's shocking and appalling to think that maybe we haven't been able to choose our leaders and our representatives because there's so much corruption. And we saw corruption in Maricopa. We still don't know who won. And I don't think it's Joe Biden.
No.
But we need to get to the bottom of it. And I think all counties in Arizona should be forensically audited. And I believe with the corruption we're seeing in counties across the state, we really should audit the entire country. Now, I'm speaking for the people of Arizona. I want to see Arizona audited, and I hope that people rise up in other states and say, we want the audit to happen here as well. Because this way we can figure out where the fraud is and root it out and know going forward that we're going to have fair, honest, secure elections. That's all we want. I always say, I would never have wanted President Trump to win the way that Joe Biden won. And I say Joe Biden is my president, is the president, the same way that O.J. Simpson is innocent. When there's a corrupt system, you can't trust the results. And the system is completely corrupt.
And we need fighters who will fight for a system that isn't corrupt, and that's you.
Yeah, and that is me, because I'll tell you why. I've covered Arizona for 27 years. I care about the people. I love this state. I am not friends with these people who are in politics. Will I work with them? Of course I will. I want to work with all of the elected officials that want to help Arizona, but I'm not cronies with them. So if I go in there and we find out this person and that person and this person, I don't care if they have a D or an R behind their name, were involved in defrauding the voter of Arizona, there's going to be hell to pay. I am going into this because I want to root out the corruption. I want to get the people who are corrupt out and bring people into the state government who truly care about Arizona. That really care about Arizona. I'm doing this for the most altruistic reasons, and it bothers me when they write nasty articles about me. They're giving me the Trump treatment in the press. I read an article, I think the latest one that came out, I don't even remember what bogus journalist wrote it, but I got through the first sentence, factually incorrect. The second sentence, factually incorrect. The third, incorrect. Four sentences, 4 lies, and I was like, I mean, and the rest of the story was the same way. They just don't care about accuracy, facts, and the truth. And we can't even use the word journalists anymore because they're not journalists. They are truly activists. The good news is we're starting to see independent journalists like yourself. I know you're a podcaster, but truly You're trying to get to the truth. And so we're going to see, and we have seen, the rise of the podcaster, of the independent journalist. And I always tell people when they ask me, well, where do we get our information then if we can't trust the corporate news? And I say, you have to go out and be your own journalist. You've got to dig for that information and look for it. Start by not using Google.
Yeah, for sure.
First of all, when you search Google, they tell you what they want you to see. Find different places like DuckDuckGo, and there are other search engines that will actually give you true search results.
You use Rumble. I've been using Rumble for my podcast, and people have been finding it and listening to it, and they won't censor you. They won't censor the truth. They will show it to you. I'm on Rumble as well.
Rumble, and you can go to Kari Lake, Karilake. And my staff wants us to still be on YouTube. I hardly ever use YouTube anymore. I just don't want to support companies, corporations that are hurting us and taking away our freedom. And I believe that they're censoring us, obviously. And I want to make censorship outlawed here in Arizona.
Good.
And punish websites, punish tech titans who are trying to censor us, because we want our rights back. We want Arizona to be the most free state in the country. I truly would like all states to be free, but we're going to concentrate on Arizona. And you're going to be able to come here and go, this is a great place to raise a family, pro-family. We're going to be able to come to Arizona and be a great place to start a business, operate a business, open a business. Great place to celebrate your religious freedom. And a great place to celebrate your constitutional freedoms, including the Second Amendment. We're already a very pro-2A state. We will never lose that here. You will have the ability to live as a free American in Arizona.
Good. Another issue that's really prevalent in here and Texas as well is the border. That it's the national security threat, that there are people coming in, unvetted people who are coming in, and it's very dangerous for the United States. It's dangerous for our freedom. It's dangerous for our liberty. It's dangerous for us in general, because there are people who can come in and they're dangerous.
They are dangerous. We're not vetting them.
Right.
We don't know who's coming in. President Trump said I was with him at Mar-a-Lago about a week ago for a fundraiser there. It was wonderful to spend time with him, and he said, and it piqued my interest, and I want to look more into it, that these countries are emptying their prisons and just sending people here that are prisoners. And I thought, well, what a great way to take the burden off of a country. Go, we don't want to have to deal with these people. Send them to America. It's horrible what's happening. And he said that now twice. He generally tends to put information out that's very factual, even though the press tries to act like it's not. We do not have a country if we do not have a border. President Trump said that. It is true. And Joe Biden has basically taken away our border. He's handed over border control to the cartels in Mexico. So we don't have a country right now if everyone's coming in, 2+ million people. We don't know who they are. They're running around free in this country, and they're not vetted, and it's dangerous. We're seeing drugs come in. We're seeing children being trafficked. We're seeing adults being trafficked, and it's really frightening what's happening. What I would do if I were governor right now is I'd start building the wall. To heck with what the federal government says.
Right.
We have many miles of Arizona land that we can start constructing that wall on. Doesn't have to be the Trump wall. That's an expensive $20 million per mile.
Right.
Could be, but I think we could actually use the money, $1.6 billion that the federal government gave us in COVID relief money, and pour some of that into building the wall.
That'd be good.
Prevent COVID from coming over. And we need to shore up our border sheriff's departments. They can't even afford overtime, and they need to have their deputies working overtime, and they need to hire more people. So we pour some of that $1 billion plus into our sheriff's departments to shore up security in these border counties. And I think we should embolden and empower our sheriffs along the border to deputize ready and able, ready and willing to help Arizonans. We have a lot of strong men and women who are former military, former law enforcement, who would love to be deputized and help with security. We've got to create our own Arizona Border Patrol, because the feds aren't allowing the federal Border Patrol to help out. So we got to do it ourselves. And I would be down there, and we would be working on this right now. And we should be suing the federal government for failing to protect us. That is their duty, to protect our border, and they're not doing it.
You're exactly right. I've been paying attention to you and what you've been doing for quite a while, and I've read articles as well, and I've seen people calling you a rhino. You're not a rhino. You're not a Republican.
I've covered the rhinos. I've covered Arizona for 27 years. I'm running against rhinos. I'm running against true rhinos. I have voted Democrat in the past, like millions of Americans. I was a Republican my whole life. For 4 years, I was a registered Democrat. And they're trying to act like that's the end of the world. Well, everywhere I go, I'm seeing people who, I always ask, have you ever voted Democrat before in your life? And at least half the room's arms are coming up. I will tell everybody out there watching, I am a strong conservative, and I welcome every single Democrat who's fleeing the Democrat Party. We want you to come over and become a Republican. If you're waking up to the nonsense and the lies of the Democrat Party and the leftist policies that are dead-end policies, come on over, take a look at where I stand on my platform. It's common sense. It's basically the foundation that this country was founded upon. And come on over. We have a big tent in the Republican Party, and if my opponents want to make that an issue, that's fine. They're not going to win anyway. We want more Republicans. That's how you win. Get more votes.
Exactly.
We're bringing young people in. Most of my staff is young people 30 and younger. This is unheard of in politics. We hold rallies with 2,000 people, and these are people new to politics. Many have said, I've never been involved. I'm embarrassed to say I never voted. People will tell me that. Never got involved, never registered. They're registering to vote. They're off the sidelines, and they're in the game. And it's going to be a red wave. It's going to be a red tsunami. It's going to hit Arizona. But unfortunately, because our elections are so corrupt, we got to win by a mile in order to eke out a 1-inch win.
Yeah.
But that won't be long, because when I get into office, we are going to go through that forensic audit, and we're going to check everything off and fix everything.
Good.
So that whether you're Democrat or a Republican, you know that when you vote, your vote counted, and the winner that you hear is the winner at the end of the night is truly the winner, and you can trust that. Right now, 2016, we had the Democrats didn't trust the election. 2020, the Republican. It's just a mess. We can't have that every single election.
Right.
Let's clean it up.
Exactly right.
Bring back election day. I don't know when we became 40 plus days of voting. It's insane.
Oh no, you're right. Exactly right. You know, one of the other things that you just mentioned was young people, and you know, that's a big issue in today's generation. People are being taught lies by their schools. And I'm on your website right now, karilake.com is where you'll find all of Kari's information, and you have Teaching for Success. And so I know that this is big in other places. I'm not sure about Arizona, but critical race theory is a very dangerous ideology, and my friend Dr. Mark Sherwood, he's fighting against that in Oklahoma. And I know that Glenn Youngkin won basically on his fight against CRT. Is that being taught here, and if so, how will you fight against that?
Well, they say they're not teaching it, but when you look at the curriculum, there's a whole lot of that woke kind of garbage in there, trying to divide our kids and have them, the first thing they see is somebody's skin color, and it's wrong. We are all equal in God's eyes and under the U.S. Constitution. We're judged by our actions, our behavior, the content of our character, as Martin Luther King Jr. said.
Right.
And Martin Luther King Jr. would be appalled by what's happening in this country right now. We're trying to teach racism in school, and we're trying. And this is a trick of the left. They're always trying to divide us. By your gender, by your race, by your sexual identity. It's just like, oh my gosh, can we just judge people by who they are and how they behave and what they do? And so that's what we need to get back to. I was at an event, it was a women in business event, and the question was, how will you help women in business? And I said, well, I think women are doing really well in business. I'm a woman. Things are looking really good for women, so I'm going to help Arizona business people. I'm going to help build a climate where business, if you're an Arizonan and you want to start a business or operate your business, we make it to where you can succeed. And when you do that, when you help everyone, then you help women business owners. Then you help Hispanic business owners. Then you help Black business owners. But you help Arizona business owners because we're all in this together. And so I don't like dividing people up by their skin color, their sex. And frankly, I think that men are kind of getting pushed aside, and I don't like that. I'm a mom of a boy, and I don't like what's being done to our men. I want to see our men be able to prosper. I want you to be able to go into this world and be able to compete and be able to be the man you are and not have to be like, oh gosh, I gotta, can't be masculine, I can't be a man, I've got to, you know, it's very hypocritical. They want you to not be masculine and compete, but then you have to compete for a job and you have to compete against a woman and you have to treat the woman like a lady, and it's insane what's going on. You should be able to compete based on what you bring to the table. Man, woman, black, white, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
But we also need to have a good education system so that everybody has a fair shot once they get into the real world. And right now we have failing schools, we have schools teaching stuff that's not preparing people for success. Talking about CRT, that's not going to give you any skills to go into the world and make it. And we need our kids to get out of high school, and they should be able to go from high school right into the workforce. There's tons of jobs. I talk to industry leaders. Kari, we don't have the workers. We should be able to get out of 12th grade. Schools have had us for 13 years. We're 18 years old, we're adults, and go out and have some skills to work. You don't have to go to college unless you're going to, be a doctor or an engineer. There's certain things you really do need a college degree for, but for the most part you don't. So let's make our K through 12 count so that you can go out at 18 and go, I'm ready for the world. I'm ready for any job that I can apply for.
Exactly right. I love how you mentioned Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by the content of their character.
Yes.
And that's being really shot down in today's day and age. People are not looking at people based on the content of their character, like you said. It's based on race or gender or whatever, and that's wrong. We are all equal under God and under the Constitution. Yeah. We the people are all equal.
That's the beautiful thing about this country, and if we don't protect that and save that, and I don't think we have a lot of time. I mean, this is one of the reasons I'm running. Believe me, it's grueling, it's daunting, it's difficult. I'm doing this, and there are days where I go, okay, God, that was a tough day. We'll do it again tomorrow. There's no option, there's no choice to quit this. I'm doing this because I'm so worried about where this state goes if I am not running. I'm doing this to truly try to save this state and this country. We save our state, we go state by state. It's a big a chunk to bite off to say we're going to save the country, but we can save Arizona. And we really should get back to our states' rights.
Exactly right. We should get back to our states' rights. We should get back to our freedoms that are given in the Bill of Rights, the first 10, the
First through 10th Amendment.
Yes. We need that, and that's being fought against. One last question, and I believe truly that you will become the next governor of Arizona. When that happens, I believe that also the Biden administration, or if it's Kamala Harris by then, what will you do as the governor of Arizona to protect the rights of Arizona citizens if they go beyond their constitutional limits, their constitutional bounds?
I mean, we need to push back really hard against the federal government. And right now, we have a situation in Scottsdale, Arizona. I don't know if people are following this all over, but our parents who got involved and started asking questions about the curriculum got put on a list and are being spied on, cyber stalked by a member of the school board.
Wow.
They found a dossier, a file with very private information on these parents who stood up and said, wait a minute, we want to know what you're teaching our kids. So they were listed as the troublemakers, and a member of the school board started spying on them, taking pictures of their license plates. They found images of young girls on his computer.
Wow.
These were young girls that were in the school district that were from the families where the parents were asking questions. Divorce decrees. There was a complaint filed against a single mom who was a nurse, against her license to practice nursing. They are harassing these parents for stepping forward. Now here's the danger of it. Calling them domestic terrorists. That's, we can kind of laugh and joke about that, like, oh my gosh, how ridiculous, but it's a serious label to be put on a mother or father. Once you're labeled a domestic terrorist, that means your own government can surveil you. That means when you're driving around town and you get your picture taken, or they spot you at the red light camera, they can surveil your whereabouts, where you're going. Next thing you know, you're on a no-fly list. It's a very serious allegation and label to be put on a parent for the crime of caring about what your school's teaching. It's got to stop. As governor, I will not put one penny or one resource into assisting the FBI into surveilling these parents. And they've got to know, the federal government has to know, when I'm governor of Arizona, I'm not going to work with them to surveil parents and families. I'm not going to work with them if they're going to call our citizens of Arizona who care terrorists. They will get zero resources from the Arizona state government. And right now we do work with a group called Fusion Center rather, and it's basically Arizona DPS or state police working with the FBI. And I will not allow our DPS to work with the FBI. I won't allow that. So I will take all those resources and say, FBI, you're on your own. The state's not going to help investigate our citizens who care about their children. I also want to mention, you mentioned President Trump's endorsement. I'm so proud to have that. He knows a fighter when he sees one. He knows that I will not put election integrity on the back burner. It's going to be front and center.
Good.
We've already held a rally on the anniversary of the corrupt election.
Yeah.
And the point of the rally was to thank people who either protested and got this whole thing going, or people who signed up and volunteered to work at the audit and get to the bottom of this. And it was to thank them, but it was also to give people information that they could carry forward, because the media is not educating people about what happened. So we need to put information out there. What happened? What did we find in the forensic audit? What did we find in the canvassing? To educate people so they can go out and educate people. I'm also endorsed by, as I said, Mike Lindell, General Michael Flynn.
Yep.
So proud to have his endorsement. I'm endorsed by a former DNI. He declassified the deep state, Rick Grinnell. I've got Brandon Tatum endorsing me, Larry Elder. So I have the true patriots behind the America First movement. Congressman Paul Gosar has endorsed me. These are people who are not endorsing rhinos. They're trying to discredit me. They're trying to tell people, they'll throw any lie out there in order to get people not to vote for me, because they're so worried about the turnout of Kari Lake supporters, because when you're supporting my campaign, you're supporting Arizona. And we're going to turn out in droves, and they're worried about that.
That's so good. Well, everybody, this is Kari Lake. She is the next governor of Arizona, in my opinion, I believe. And I don't know how many of my listeners listen in Arizona. I can't really see that. But if you are listening in Arizona, I endorse Kari Lake. And you need to go and vote for her. When is the
Well, August 2nd is the election. That's the primary election, and that's when I need people to get out and vote. You know, a lot of people are new to the political system. They're telling me, we've never voted, and we want to vote now. And I always remind them, you know, because they don't really they're not aware maybe of the primary system. You have to win the primary to get on the ballot. So August 2nd. If you're going to be 18 by August 2nd, you can vote. And I would appreciate your vote. I am going to be representing the people of Arizona. I will truly be, I think, the first governor we've ever had who is not controlled by any special interest group other than the people of Arizona. Right. And I'm so honored that people are open to our campaign.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you all for listening, and thank you once again for being on this episode. God bless you all, and goodbye.
We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Period.
I wasn't thinking of the Bill of Rights when we did this.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
God actually spoke to me. He spoke about sacredness. He said to me, Kim, what I place in many, many people is sacred. And if anybody touches what is sacred to me, then it is the end for them. So what I've done in the United States of America is sacred. And there are people on every side that are trying to destroy what I deem sacred. And it's not going to happen.
This is the definition of criminal conspiracy, racketeering, and collusion. This is not a theory. This is evidence.
Because I have upheld this country to spread the light to the rest of the world. When you choose to go against the sacred thing that God puts into the very heart and the soil of this nation. This was sacred to God.
Now is the time to act.
This is exactly why I need some action from my people.